The film you are about to see represents a significant breakthrough in the advancing science of the motion picture. You are about to witness history in the making.
I'm Bianca, and this is Andrew. Thank you for coming to be our principal for the day and joining us for our interview. Andrew will ask you the first question.
What inspires you every day to get up and do your job?
I think the fact that I know that through my job I'm helping a lot of other people do their job and do it in a way which is meaningful both to them and to the community at large.
So when growing up and going through high school, where did you dream you would work and what were your aspirations?
Well, I had a couple of different dreams, neither of which came true. I first thought that I would like to be an architect, and then I went and I did work experience with an architect's firm, and I think I sort of thought that's really not for me. It was a lot of detail, a lot of working out every hinge and every doorknob, and I think that helped me realise that I'm probably interested in sort of bigger picture issues than that. So I turned away from that, and then I thought that I would become a curator in an art gallery. So I pursued my study in that, but I didn't end up working in that either, which just goes to show, life can take you on different paths. But yeah, I was pretty keen on that for quite a while, and I worked pretty hard at university in particular to get my qualifications in that area, which I haven't ever used.
Oh. Well, myself, being in Year 8, I am awash with confusion about the abundance of careers to consider. I feel as if leaving school will be overwhelming. And how did you, yourself, find a path that suits you best? And how did you find an opportunity to work somewhere that you were actually passionate about?
Yeah. So I guess, as I said, I sort of pursued a particular path at university, but I didn't end up ever working in that. Other opportunities sort of came to me mostly through people I knew, actually. And I took them on, and then, one thing basically leads to another. So I don't think you need to be anxious about it, because I think when you do a good job somewhere and people know that you work hard, that leads to people having a high opinion of you, and, people talk, and then other people hear about you and say, oh, well, will you come and do this with me? That's basically what's happened to me throughout my career, both the job in fact, probably the last 4 jobs that I've had have all been from people knowing me and knowing about me and having good reports about the jobs I've done previously and saying, why don't you come and do this with me? And so I didn't sort of really have a path that said, I'm starting here and I want to get to here. But every job I've had, I've seen little opportunities elsewhere and thought, oh, you do something interesting, I wouldn't mind having a go at that. And everything seems to have worked out well.
So who would you consider a big role model or an inspiration in your life?
Yeah, I guess I can't really name one person. As a woman, I suppose I've always looked for female role models, and I've been really lucky that throughout the course of my career I've had both men and women, but particularly women who've taken an interest in my career, and I've watched very closely how they've achieved what they've achieved and tried to sort of copy some of their behaviours, I guess. I think listening and observing is a really good skill to have, because you can absolutely see by example how other people operate and how they become effective in what they do. And so that's what I've done. In fact, I just saw last week a woman that I first met more than 20 years ago who was very helpful to me back then, and I've seen her intermittently over the years. But, having those people that always take an interest in you and will always sort of help you if you show keenness and hard work, I think has been really, I guess that's where I've drawn my inspiration from, seeing these women who were probably when I was early in my career, they were mid-career, and they're now the really senior people in the community, and hopefully I've moved up a bit too.
After completing your master's degree, why did you take a sidestep into politics? And looking back now, do you think it was the right choice?
Yes, well, with the events of overnight, you can
Mhm.
imagine,
Yes.
I've been a bit excited in the last 24 hours about things going in politics. I suppose I grew up in a family that always discussed current affairs around the dinner table. So we all always took an interest in what was happening in the world around us. And so when I had an opportunity, and it really was just a conversation I was having with someone who needed some help in a job in an office of a member of parliament, and I took up that opportunity because I guess I did have this general interest in current affairs, and I really loved working in politics. And I think once you're a political junkie, you're always a political junkie. So it was sort of really just opportunistic, but it was based on the fact that I suppose I did always have an interest in that kind of thing, and I certainly don't regret it. I loved it, and I mean, when you work in those sort of jobs in politics, you meet an enormous range of people from, you know, I would have had meetings with the Prime Minister, and I would have had meetings with an artist who earned $10,000 a year, and finding ways to use that position of power, I guess, to help people who need help to make a better community is both a thrill and a privilege.
So you're the founder of Creative Partnerships Australia. Could you explain to your audience what your company is all about?
Yeah, so really the aim of our company is to get more private sector support of the arts. So we want businesses sponsoring arts companies and arts activity, and we want private individuals and philanthropists to also support the arts. So the arts is in Australia largely funded through government, and we think that there's a benefit to spreading that out and having more support for the arts from both the business sector and also the philanthropic sector. So we work with all of those sectors. We work with the arts sector to, I guess, make sure they're in a good position to be seeking money and assistance from other people, and then we work with the philanthropic and the business sectors to make sure that when they have these partnerships with the arts sector, that there's mutual benefit for both sides.
So before this, you were working at the Wheeler Centre. What encouraged you to switch to Creative Partnerships Australia, and what was your role at the Wheeler Centre?
Yeah, so at the Wheeler Centre, I was really the fundraiser. They call it development manager, which is a sort of polite term to describe going and getting the money.
Yeah.
So it was a role where I would go and talk to people who I thought had the capacity to give money to the Wheeler Centre about why it would be a really good idea. And I love the Wheeler Centre and I love what it does, so I never had any problems asking for money. I think some people, when I talk about that, go, oh my God, you can't ask people for money, can you? And I say, you know what, I never had any problem because I was so passionate about what the Wheeler Centre did and the opportunities that it's providing for having a really good public conversation about issues facing our society, that I didn't have any problems. And as I alluded to earlier, getting jobs through people you know, there was my current job. I was approached, they call it headhunted, have you heard that term?
No.
But I was approached by someone who thought I was doing a really good job there, and on the basis of that thought that I would be perfect for my current role. So this role is the first job where I've been a CEO, and that's a big challenge because when you're the CEO, the buck stops with you. You know, you have a lot of people to help you, but you're the one that takes the credit for the successes and takes the blame for the failures.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting, challenge for me. And one of the things that I was talking to Helen about earlier is the notion of risk taking. And I think that I would say throughout my career, every time that I've made a leap to try something new, whether it was going into politics, having thought that I would be an art curator, or whether it's taking on the role of a CEO when I'd never been a CEO before, has always paid off. And I think as young people, if you can think about taking a risk to achieve something higher, it's worth it. And even if, you know, you might not always succeed, and I probably haven't got a perfect record, but you learn from the things that you don't do so well, and you certainly reap the rewards from the things that you do really well when you've taken that risk to try something new and challenge yourself.
Yeah. I was looking at the Creative Partnerships Australia resource section on your website, and I saw the page for artists applying for funding. Is there a certain age group of people that apply the most for your sponsorships?
I suppose there's no limit on age, and we probably talk these days about emerging artists rather than young artists, because we find that people often will start their art career later in life. They've done something else first, and then they decide they want to enter the arts world, whether it's visual arts or performing arts or whatever. So we don't talk about young artists, but I would say that those seeking support tend to be younger. Yeah. And we love working with them because they're always full of optimism and enthusiasm, and, you know, that's exciting for us.
Yeah.
Being a CEO, what is your key to time management? Because you obviously must be busy, I imagine.
Yes. I don't know if I have a trick to it. I have a very good executive assistant who keeps me on time, and if I'm in a meeting yabbering away, she'll come and sort of tap on her watch and tell me to keep moving. But I think being organised is absolutely essential to any job that you do, because, you know, a lot of things around being timely are just about having good manners. You know, not being late for a meeting is showing respect for the person that you're meeting with and not wasting their time. So it's something that I'm very conscious of, and that I just have to work at all the time.
Yeah.
Not always successfully, I might add, but I try.
How would you describe your current work in 3 words?
Oh, 3 words. Okay. Fun. I'd say fun first, because, you know, you spend a lot of time at work, and if it's not fun, there's not a lot of point in being there. I would say inspiring, because I meet a lot of people doing so many fantastic things, taking lots of risks, really putting themselves out there, and, you know, I'm really always quite humbled but inspired by the things that other people are doing. And the 3rd word, I guess, would be rewarding, because I get personal satisfaction about being able to come home at the end of the day and feel as though I've helped other people during the course of the day.
Thank you, Fiona, for giving us your time and insights and some advice for our futures. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day at South Oakley Secondary College. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm loving it so far.